Julian Vance thought the world was his stage, and everyone else was just part of the scenery. As the interim CEO of Vantage Global, he measured a person's worth by the brand of their watch and the zip code of their home. But didn't he know that the woman scrubbing the floors of his executive suite held his entire future in her calloused hands? Maya had been working as a janitor for exactly 30 days, hiding her Ivy League education and her true identity behind a blue uniform and a spray bottle. She was the only daughter of the late founder, Arthur Sterling, and she had returned from years in Europe to see if her father's legacy was in safe hands. It wasn't. On a Tuesday morning that changed everything, Maya was cleaning a spill near the elevators when Julian's Italian leather loafers stepped right into the puddle. He didn't just get angry. He took it as a personal insult to his ego. He looked down at Maya with a sneer that would have withered a weaker soul and told her that she was nothing but a stain on the marble, a mistake of nature that didn't belong in his shining office. He took his half-full latte and poured it slowly over her shoulder, watching the brown liquid soak into her uniform, telling her that now her clothes finally matched her paycheck. He tossed a $100 bill at her face and told her to buy a dress that didn't smell like bleach, then warned her to vanish before the charity gala the next night, because he didn't want the city's elite to breathe the same air as a common servant. Before we continue with Maya's incredible journey of justice, I want to take a moment to welcome you all to the channel. We love hearing from our community, so please tell us, who are you? And where in the world are you watching from? Drop your city and country in the comments below. And if you enjoy stories where the underdog finally gets their day, do us a huge favor and hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up right now to help us bring you more stories like this one. Now, let's get back to the moment. Julian Vance realized he had messed with the wrong woman. Maya didn't scream, and she didn't cry. She picked up the $100 bill with a steady hand and watched Julian walk away, his laughter echoing down the hallway. Mr. Harrison, the head of security and the only person who knew Maya's secret, stepped out from the shadows of the corridor. He had served Maya's father for 30 years, and it broke his heart to see her treated this way. He offered her a handkerchief, his eyes full of silent fury, asking her how much longer she could endure this humiliation. Maya simply smiled, a cold, sharp expression that Harrison recognized from her father. She told him that she had seen enough. She had seen Julian fire a single mother for being 5 minutes late because of a broken bus. She had seen him divert money meant for employee health care into his personal jet fund. She had seen the rot at the heart of Vantage Global. The test was over, and Julian Vance had failed every single metric of human decency. As the sun set over the city, Maya didn't go back to a cramped apartment. She went to the penthouse her father had left her, a place Julian didn't even know existed. She looked at the $100 bill on her vanity and decided exactly how she was going to use it. She spent the next 24 hours coordinating with the board of directors and the legal team that had been waiting for the true heir to claim her throne. Julian spent that same time rehearsing a speech about visionary leadership and compassion, ironies that would soon taste like ash in his mouth. He thought the charity gala would be his coronation, the night the board would officially remove the interim tag from his title. He had invited the press, the politicians, and the power players of the state. He wanted to be the king, but he forgot that the kingdom didn't belong to him. On the night of the gala, the ballroom of the Grand Pier Hotel was a sea of silk, diamonds, and forced smiles. Julian moved through the crowd like a shark in a tuxedo, shaking hands and basking in the flattery of people who only feared his power. He kept looking at the door, expecting the mysterious shareholder he'd heard rumors about to arrive. He had no idea she was already there, watching him from the balcony. Maya had traded him up for a gown of emerald silk that flowed like water. She had used Julian's $100 to pay for the professional makeup artist who transformed the invisible janitor into a goddess of industry. With her hair swept up and her father's signature diamond pendant resting against her skin, she was unrecognizable to the man who had poured coffee on her own yesterday. She watched as Julian took the stage, his voice booming over the speakers, talking about the importance of uplifting the community while his own employees struggled to pay rent. It was a masterpiece of hypocrisy. Maya felt a tap on her shoulder. It was Harrison, looking sharp in his dress uniform. He whispered that the documents were ready and the board was in position. The trap was set. All that was left was for the predator to walk into it. Maya took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her father's legacy on her shoulders. She wasn't doing this for the money or the title. She was doing it for the people Julian had stepped on to get to the top. She began her descent down the grand staircase, every eye in the room turning toward her. The whisper started immediately as she, a foreign princess, tech mogul. Julian stopped mid-sentence, his eyes widening as he saw the stunning woman approaching. He felt a surge of predatory excitement, thinking he could add this powerful woman to his collection of conquests. He did not notice the way she walked with the absolute authority of someone who owned the very floor he was standing on. He didn't notice the cold steel in her eyes. He only saw the beauty, and for a man like Julian, beauty was just another commodity to be bought. As Maya reached the bottom of the stairs, Julian practically ran toward her, ignoring his guests. He reached out to take a hand, his face masked with a practiced, charming smile. He told her that he had been waiting all night for someone of her caliber to grace the event. He asked for her name, leaning in as if they were old friends. Maya let him take her hand, her voice smooth and dangerous as she asked him if he really didn't recognize her. She reminded him that they had met just yesterday near the elevators. Julian laughed, thinking it was a joke, a playful riddle from a wealthy socialite. He told her he would never forget a face like hers. Maya's smile didn't reach her eyes. She reached into her clutch and pulled out a crumpled $100 bill, pressing it into his palm. She told him that his tip had been very helpful in choosing her accessories for the evening. The silence that followed was absolute. It was as if the oxygen had been sucked out of the room. Julian looked at the money, then at her face, and then back at the money. The realization hit him like a physical blow. The color drained from his cheeks, leaving him a ghostly gray. He stuttered, his bravado vanishing in an instant as he whispered the word janitor. Maya didn't give him a chance to recover. She stepped past him, her heels clicking rhythmically against the floor, and headed straight for the head table. This wasn't just any table. It was the founder's table, reserved for the Sterling family and the head of the board. Julian, fueled by a mixture of panic and rage, tried to grab her arm. He began to shout, his voice cracking as he called for security, telling everyone that this woman was a fraud, a thief who had stolen a dress and snuck into a high society event to embarrass him. He ordered Harrison to throw her out, to put her in handcuffs, to make sure she never saw the light of day. But Harrison didn't move. None of the security team moved. They stood like statues, their eyes fixed on Maya. The board members stood up, but not to protest. They stood up in respect. Maya reached a large, high-backed leather chair at the center of the table, the chair that had sat empty since her father's funeral. She sat down, crossing her legs with a grace that silenced Julian's screams. She leaned into the microphone on the table, her voice echoing through the silent ballroom. She addressed the room, not as an employee, but as the majority shareholder and the new chairperson of Vantage Global. She told the guests about her month-long audit of the company's culture. She described the arrogance, the cruelty, and the financial malpractice she had witnessed under Julian's short-lived reign. She projected the company, its real internal memos, onto the large screens behind her, memos signed by Julian that detailed his plans to fire veteran workers just weeks before their pensions kicked in. The crowd gasped. The politicians who had been laughing with Julian moments ago now moved away from him as if he were radioactive. Julian tried one last desperate move. He rushed the table, screaming that the morality clause in his contract was subjective and that she could unfire him without a massive payout. Maya looked at him with genuine pity. She informed him that the morality clause wasn't the only thing he'd violated. She handed a folder to the city's district attorney, who was sitting just a few feet away. The folder contained proof of the creative accounting Julian had used to fund his lifestyle. As the police entered the ballroom, Maya stood up. She told Julian that he was right about one thing. She had been looking at the world from the bottom up for the last month, and from that perspective, she could see exactly who was worth keeping and who was just trash waiting to be cleared away. She thanked him for the $100, saying it was the only honest money he'd touched in years. And then she watched in silence as he was led out of the hall in handcuffs, his expensive suit wrinkled and his reputation destroyed forever. Maya turned back to the remaining guests and the terrified managers of the company. She didn't offer a speech about profits. She announced that her first act as chairperson would be to restore every benefit Julian had cut and to double the wages of the cleaning and maintenance staff. She told them that from this day forward, there would be no invisible people at Vantage Global. Every person, from the boardroom to the boiler room, would be treated with the dignity they deserved. The room erupted in applause, not the polite clapping of a gala, but a genuine roar of approval. Maya sat back down, looking at the empty space where Julian had stood. She had saved her father's dream, and in doing so, she had found her own strength. The invisible woman was now the most powerful person in the city, and she would never let anyone forget that a person's soul is not defined by their uniform. Thank you so much for watching this story to the end. It serves as a powerful reminder that you should never judge a book by its cover, because you never know who is watching. If you loved seeing Maya take her power back and watching Julian get exactly what he deserved, please make sure to subscribe to our channel right now. Your support helps us create more of these stories of justice and karma. Don't forget to hit that like button and share this video with someone who needs to see that truth always comes to light. See you in the next story.